It's time to strap in and get ready for the front stretch. Presented by Joe's Karting. Dan and Dirk are live in the studio today, ready to hear from you at 402-573-0590.
Well, we do have plenty to talk about today on the front stretch, brought to you by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. Karting with a K, Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Fast-paced white-knuckle racing where you really do have to know how to feather the brake and hit the gas at the exact times. A lot like some of these guys do here at the NASCAR level.
Have to do it.
Joining me, as always, Dirk. It's been a long weekend for us. A lot of sitting and waiting and thinking and pondering and enjoying the festivities here at Iowa Speedway. And now time to recap the SpongeBob SquarePants 400.
But we're at Kansas Speedway.
We were at Kansas Speedway. Right now we're sitting in a hotel room.
But we're definitely not at Iowa Speedway.
Right. We will be there next weekend, which we hope you join us there next weekend, Iowa Speedway, for all the action. K&N Series takes the track Saturday night, and then the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Did that count? Did I just flub that one up and I got to donate another $1?
No, you're good.
Okay, good. I didn't want to do my Xfinity cuss jar, but anyways, then Xfinity Series takes the track on Sunday. Just kind of a quick outlook. I know it's a ways out, but the 10-day forecast looks good. We shouldn't have any issues getting that race in. So we were pretty hesitant about the race last night. In fact, all week long, I was pretty much telling people, I think we're going to be racing on Monday.
Yeah.
And you even heard a weather guy up in Omaha say, don't even bother going down to the track. It's not going to get the race in. Well, we got it in. Yep. And NASCAR did a phenomenal job with trying to get as much of the laps in before the rain came. Eventually the rain did come, and it rained for about 45 minutes to an hour, and then the Air Titans went to work, and we went back to racing.
Yeah, we got done a little bit after midnight, but definitely a decent race after the rain.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And the results from that race, your top 10 finishers, Ryan Newman gets another top 10 finish on the season. So does Martin Truex Jr. Heartbreaker for Martin. He led 95 laps. I believe he was the lap leader. Had an absolutely great car, but the pit strategies didn't shake out for him in the end. Brad Keselowski comes home in 7th. Matt Kenseth in 6th. Joey Logano gets a top 5 finish. Jeff Gordon comes home in 4th. Dale Earnhardt Jr. in 3rd, Kevin Harvick 2nd, and with the best pit strategy of all, left him out there. Jimmy Johnson gets the win. I believe it was Jimmy and Dale that stayed out, or was it Jimmy and Jeff that stayed out and didn't get tires?
I think it was Jimmy and Dale.
And so then everybody else came in, got a couple of tires, got a little more Sunoco fuel, and was able. Kevin had an absolutely phenomenal car. He led 53 laps on the day, led 2 different times, but when they went back to green that last time, there was only like 5 or 6 laps left to go in the race, and just not enough to catch Jimmy Johnson and use those tires to his advantage.
Well, we went to that press conference the other day and listened to Carl Edwards speak, and he got asked about the new rules package, and he was very adamant about how aero-sensitive these cars are, and last night's race just proved it. Whoever got to the front, whether it was Truex, Harvick, Johnson, Keselowski, every time those guys got the lead, they would bolt out to a 2-second lead because they'd have that dirty air bouncing off that car behind them, and they couldn't be caught. So, Carl was point right on when in that press conference.
And he had some pretty poignant words, I thought, put very eloquently as far as Carl Edwards is concerned. I mean, he's an eloquent guy is what I'm trying to get at. And he puts things in an easy-to-understand fashion. And I think he also chooses his words very carefully not to receive a Denny Hamlin fine.
There you go.
For making harsh comments about the Gen 6 car just weeks after it was released. I think it was at like Martinsville or Bristol early in the release of that car. But Carl not happy with the aero package that NASCAR has laid out. Feels that it's really taken the driver out of the car, and it's put it in all the importance in the engineer crew chiefs. And obviously as a driver, he doesn't like that. He wants it to be the old-fashioned way where it's about the driver, and I think that's what a lot of diehard NASCAR fans want too.
Yeah, Carl likes, he's a dirt track guy. He likes that car slipping and sliding around on that asphalt, and he's not getting that, so he's not happy.
So when asked in the press room his thoughts on the rules package, he said, "I'm not going to say I don't like it. I'm going to say I'm a fan of a completely different package." But and obviously, we sat there and talked for a little bit. He had a nice long press conference, very frustrated on his season so far.
Oh, easiest way to put it.
Yeah, and you could really see the stress in his face. If you get a chance, go on to NASCAR.com. They post all those press conferences. You can see just the frustration that he's experiencing with such a talented driver, but struggling so far as a JGR driver, and finishing 20th last night after qualifying 5th after winning the first 2 rounds of qualifying, but not the 3rd round. Ended up coming home in 5th place for the qualifying, so he started 5th. Had a good solid car, had good practices, felt like he had a much better car than 20th.
Yeah, he ran up front for a little bit, but I don't think he had the winning car. I don't think he was as good as maybe the top 7 or 8 guys, but he should have been 10 spots better than where he ended up. And
some notable drivers: Denny Hamlin was involved in an accident late in the race. He finished 41st. Eric Jones substituting for Kyle Busch in the number 18 M&M's car for Joe Gibbs Racing. After having a good strong run, finished 40th. Had a good strong run Friday night in the Truck Series race, but that fuel mileage is everything. And Matt Kraft had made it work, and he didn't.
Ran out of gas with 6 laps to go.
I think he was definitely the story of the weekend. That's kind of what the media center and everyone was talking about, was Eric Jones. Despite the announcement Sunday morning of A.J. Allmendinger, Eric Jones kind of stole the weekend. The notables as far as finishes, let's see. Austin Dillon, 22nd. Clint Boyer, 21st. Clint had a rough day. At his home track, just kind of a rough day. In fact, I think Martin Truex Jr. is the only one that had the only one of the "this is my home track" finished good, and he finished 9th. So Clint Boyer 21st, Carl Edwards 20th, Casey Kane 17th.
This isn't Martin Truex home track.
Not Martin Truex Jr., but Furniture Rows. It's kind of their home track. It's the closest to their home, I believe they go. I heard somebody talking about that last night. But so that's the way it shook out. Jimmy Johnson gets his 3rd win on the season, 47 points towards the Pick'ems contest. He led 10 total laps, so he didn't get a full beviot of points, but gets as many as he needs to. Comes up into 3rd place in the overall standings. Martin Truex Jr. still sitting in 2nd place, but he's only got a 2-point lead over Johnson. Kevin Harvick still walking away with it. 46-point lead over 2nd place Martin Truex Jr., 48-point lead over Jimmy Johnson. But that doesn't matter come Chicagoland. Everything gets erased. Kevin with 2 wins on the season, almost he's guaranteed to get in, I think. Truex would be your first driver without a win that is in the point standings, and Johnson now first driver with 3 wins on the season. So Johnson is essentially locked in. But Harvick, Johnson, Logano, Edwards, Keselowski, Kenseth, and let's see, Busch and Hamlin. Those are your drivers that are locked into the chase as it stands right now. And dang it, Danica fell out of the top 16, so she's not going to be she's not qualifying for the chase anymore.
Yeah, that's why GoDaddy's leaving.
But you know what? 17th. I know we're only 11 races in, but 17th position, 17th spot in the standings. Not bad. I don't think it's something to really gloat about, but I think it's a continuing sign that she's getting just a little bit better. Maybe not as better as fast as people want her to, but she's just ever so slightly getting better.
Well, experience is everything in this sport, and the more she gets, the better she should be doing.
Brett Moffitt was your highest finishing rookie in 34th spot, so that kind of recaps the SpongeBob SquarePants 400 night race at Kansas Speedway. Dirk, first time coming down as a media official at Kansas Speedway. What was your thoughts?
Well, it's basically the same as coming down how I'd come down any other time, except I had, certain things we had to do, grab some interviews and, had to be here at such a time and there at such a time. The access to, like, Carl Edwards' press conference, that was kind of cool.
Yep.
You got to listen to them talk live like that. Hadn't been able to do that before. But, it was all in all a good weekend. Just wish my health would have been a little better. So.
We'll get you feeling better here soon. But I had several friends that came down, and I talked to one of them who's been a good friend of mine for a long time, and he said, I can't believe I've waited this long to come to a NASCAR race. And he's one of them that kind of teases me every once in a while, being a NASCAR fan. He got tickets to come down, so he brought his wife down as a part of a Mother's Day gift. They came down last night, and he goes, I cannot believe everything that comes with these tickets. We were out front looking at the Chevy displays, at the Richard Petty driving experience displays. We were out looking at, all the different haulers and the cars. And then we get to go inside and walk around in the garages, and we got to get pictures next to Dale Jr.'s car, who's his wife's who his wife loves. And he goes, I couldn't believe it, all of that. And then we get to sit there and watch a race. It was absolutely amazing. And it really is. We talk about the access we get as media, and that is really the only difference, is that we get to go inside of a building and have brief one-on-one conversations with some of these drivers. But other than that, we get hot passes, which you can buy online, and you can walk around in the garages with your hot passes, and you can see the same thing we see, and you'll get the same access to a lot of the drivers that we get. So it really is interesting watching the NASCAR machine in work, how available a lot of these drivers and crew members are.
Well, I don't think you can buy a hot pass online if somebody doesn't sponsor you. I think you can buy the cold pass.
Okay.
So you can have access to the garage. But yeah, the hot passes, somebody has to sponsor you, and they are rather pricey, like $400. But, to some people, money's not the object.
Right. And it's, for a weekend of racing, $400, if that's where you want to go. I think it's worth it. It's a lot of money to me too. I don't think I'd spend it, but I think with everything you get, those hot passes are pretty valuable, and those are nice little passes you can get. Next time we're at Kansas will be in October for the Sprint Cup Series Chase race, so make sure you plan accordingly to get your weekend all set up. Unfortunately, hopefully the weather will cooperate a little bit more with us. As much as I say that, though, we didn't get much rain. For looking at it earlier in the week, it was rain. It's going to rain. Bring your paddle boat and big old water boots, and we're probably going to be racing on Monday. But luckily, we got very lucky, and very little moisture, very little rain. Truck Series got in on time, and then it kind of rained overnight. Then that's the reason why they had the competition caution for the Sprint Cup Series race, and then. So I think it was a good weekend overall, and pretty happy with it. So, all right, should we take a break? Come back in turn number 2. We'll talk to Stan Cisar, get a recap. He had a busy weekend. Friday night was the National Sprint League debut at Eagle Raceway. Saturday night was the regular weekly racing at Eagle Raceway. So we'll talk to Stan and get a recap from all that action. We'll be back live in Kansas here on the front stretch.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low-emission engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shaylee Bate, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Dan and Dirk are rolling into turn 2 with a little attitude on the front stretch.
You got a little attitude this morning, Dirk?
I had attitude all weekend.
We are live in Kansas recapping all the action from the SpongeBob SquarePants 400 night race here at Kansas Speedway. We did that in turn number 1. We were trying to get a hold of Stan Cisar for turn number 2, but we're going to continue to effort that. In the meantime, we're going to move up Justin Allgaier's interview. We got access to Justin and his hauler at the in the 51 team, and eloquent, I've used that word probably too much this weekend, but I was really impressed with his verbal abilities, and we got to meet up with him in his hauler and have a little conversation. So without further ado, Justin Allgaier. Without further ado, Justin Allgaier. Standing in the HScott Motorsports hauler with Justin Allgaier. Justin just got done with practice on Friday. You've done practice 1, practice 2, sitting about mid-20s. Talk about your car so far.
Well, unfortunately, our Fraternal Order of Eagle Chevy drives really well. We're not exactly sure where the speed that we're lacking is. Ever since the repave here at Kansas Speedway, the speeds have just been incredible. The amount of grip that the racetrack has is incredible. So, we're trying to find that good balance of, aero platform and making sure that the car goes through the air fast, but also has that good longevity so that, 25 laps into a race, I'm not screaming that my car is uncomfortable to drive.
That's always a good thing to do, is try to keep the driver as comfortable as possible.
Well, at some of these racetracks we've seen here over the course of this year that, for us, we in practice, we're a little slower than we like, and it's a little bit frustrating, but then the race rolls around and we tend to be there when it counts, and so that makes it fun. When you come down to the end and you're coming down to the checkered flag and you got a shot at running, at least having a good day, makes it that much better.
Talk about Xfinity cars versus Cup cars. The new rules package. There's been a couple of Cup drivers, Tony Stewart in particular, that has said that the rules package is very similar to the Xfinity Series packages. Do you agree with that?
I do. Definitely having the horsepower cut down on us was a major proponent of that. The Cup car still has a lot of its own identity. Obviously, number one, they look a lot different. Number two, because of that look, aerodynamics-wise, they are quite a bit different in the way that they drive. I would say that from a racer standpoint, a lot of the guys that pulled double duty actually said that it may be a little bit harder now to switch back and forth than what it was before, which I find really hard to believe, but I'll take their word for it. I haven't jumped in and out of both really. But the one thing about the Cup car that is very interesting is the performance heights, the drop heights like we run now. Our cars are maybe an inch or inch and a half off the ground rolling through the garage area, which is very, very unique for our sport. And then also too, even though it is a reduced horsepower this year, it still is a lot higher than what the Xfinity Series car is. So there are still some differences, but for sure it. Tony was great when there was a lot of power and really, finesse and using throttle control, and we've seemed to have lost a lot of that with this new rules package. It's
kind of frustrating. I think it can be frustrating for someone like him that he's so used to that horsepower. Now he's got to learn a whole new way to drive.
Well, I mean, for how many years have we had the current or the previous rules package? Even though technology has changed and we've somehow managed to find horsepower out of the same engine. I mean, I think that the Chevy SB2 engine was around for 10, 15 years, and I think it was 300 horsepower they gained from the time it was incepted until it was over. So I mean, you give a race team a part and we're going to try and reverse engineer it, and if it's square, we're going to try and make it round. We're always trying to find that little bit of an advantage, but truly, honestly, technology has just come so far that the old package, I mean, there are places, Michigan included, I wouldn't find it hard to believe to see the 230 mile an hour mark, and I know that that's just a little bit too fast for what we're trying to accomplish.
Well, and you also have the other drivers that have come over from like IndyCar, Sam Hornish, Danica, etc., where they're coming over with a whole ton of horsepower, great big tires, and no weight in the car.
Right.
I mean, that's got to be such a night and day difference to drive that.
I think that is the one unique thing about a Sprint Cup Series car or an Xfinity car or even a Camping World Series truck is the weight. We're 33 to 3,600 pounds, I think, between the three series. You still have a decent amount of horsepower. I think we're somewhere around the 700, 725 mark. So still a good bit of horsepower. But I think the tread patch is only about 11 inches wide. So, for the weight and the tire size, it's pretty incredible that these things even turn. I don't envy Goodyear or the engineers on these teams, or even really NASCAR for that matter, of trying to figure out, okay, what's a fine balance of, weight, turnability, and tires not coming apart. I mean, we're very lucky that we don't have more issues than we do.
Talk about your transition from the Xfinity Series to the Cup Series. Do you think the new rules package has helped you in making that learning process shorter?
You know, I've driven both rules packages now. I guess in my defense, I guess I would have been happier if I would have made the transition into 2015 from the Xfinity Series and not had a year of the old package. I really like the old package, the horsepower. I grew up racing dirt, where you have a lot of horsepower, and it's all about throttle control. And so for me, I really enjoyed that aspect of it. I'm not going to say that I was as good at it as I would like to have been. But as you mentioned earlier, all these drivers are trying to relearn something that they've known for 20 years. Well, through all of that, they're going through the same learning curve I am. So I guess in a way it does even the playing field for a guy like myself a little bit. But at the same time, it's all about next week, the next race. We're constantly trying to make these cars better, and technology's changing every day. So, what we learn today will definitely help us go into the next few races, and it's just it's a crazy dynamic.
The organization you're racing for, HScott Motorsports, has long reaches. I think probably some of the longest. It goes from Cup down into the K&N Series. And in fact, your new teammate this year, Rico Abreu, made some big news headlines this year as being named as a part of the NASCAR Next team. Have you got a chance to work with Rico a little bit on the K&N Series much?
Not necessarily on the K&N Series as much as just knowing Rico from years past. It's so funny to see his transition into this sport and into this, into the NASCAR ranks. If you don't know Rico, or if you've never had the opportunity to meet him, you really can't understand how cool he is, and just a great guy, and so glad for him to have this opportunity, as well as really all of the guys at the K&N shop that we have for HScott Motorsports. We've got a great group of young guys that are coming up and transitioning through, and the one thing for sure, there is definitely not a lack of talent that is trying to make it to this level. And obviously I'm very fortunate that I've been able to get here to the Sprint Cup Series, but at the same time, I know that there's 50, 75, 100 guys that would love to take my job at any moment. So you got to be on your A game and stay on your toes.
Now, we've had Rico on the show twice in like the last 6 months. We just had him on, 2 weeks ago, I think. And the first time we had him on, he come out shortly thereafter and won the Chili Bowl.
Right.
And shortly thereafter that, we had Brett Moffitt on. Brett Moffitt comes on, and what did he run, 8th in Atlanta or
7th
something
or 8th,
like
yeah.
that?
Yep.
So you're being on our show. Might show some good stuff and bring you a little luck for tomorrow.
I sure hope so, man. I'll tell you, this sport is all about momentum, and you never know the little things that are going to give you that momentum. So hopefully this will be that little bit of extra momentum that we need. But definitely, when stuff happens like that, it's cool to see, especially when you can say, hey, we just had that guy on and now he's gone. Chili Bowl. I know for Rico, the Chili Bowl has to be the highlight of his career. He's won a lot of big races, but everybody goes to the Chili Bowl. I've been fortunate enough to run it quite a few times. I've got a 3rd place finish there and never a win. So that's one of those ones that I would love to win.
One last question about Rico, and then we'll move back to the actual person we're talking to in the number 51 hauler for HScott Motorsports. Any dirt you can give us about Rico? Because we're going to talk to him again next week at Iowa Speedway as a part of the K&N and Xfinity Series being there. Any dirt you got on him by any chance? Anything at all?
I really don't. I probably do, but I probably will leave that one alone. I will say that watching him transition through, I have been very proud, but I know that it hasn't been easy for him, and I know he's had some struggles. But the one that always got me, and it was very interesting to me, was a couple years ago we were in Terre Haute, Indiana. I was there with a UMP modified, having some fun, and I get to run that car every now and again. And Rico was there with some sprint car stuff, and he came and sat in my car. And what was funny was that the way that he sat and the way that I sit, his head, like if you looked at the side of the car, you'd never know that he didn't fit in my car. Like,
wow.
He sat with his eyes the same spot I was and everything. And so we were joking around trying to figure out what we were discussing, like how we could make the pedals and the steering wheel fit so that he could drive it. Lo and behold, I never would have imagined that 2 or 3 years later, they're doing that for a K&N Series car. So really cool, like I said, to see him get those opportunities and make it up through the ranks.
Well, we talked about it earlier with the reach that HScott Motorsports has from the Cup Series all the way down to the K&N. You guys have got to have a massive pool of resource, being able to go from series to series to be able to kind of pull on some information, and talent development has got to be a huge one too.
Well, you know, that is the one interesting thing about our team, and Harry Scott's done a great job in the way that he's kind of organized everything. It is a little bit different in the fact that you know, our Cup program has I guess you could say affiliations or ties with the Hendrick Motorsports camp and the Stuart Haas Motorsports camp. You know, the Xfinity Series car has ties with Chip Ganassi Racing, obviously, with Kyle Larson being the driver for a majority of the races. And then the K&N Series car, obviously, they're as tied in, I guess, with us as you could be, but their shop is at a different location. So even though things are separate, though, we do all work really well together. We got a great group. Really proud of, you know, where this team has come to in the last, you know, 500, 600 days, not quite 2 years, but you know, the last 500 or 600 days, I feel like we've come a long way, and excited for the future. I think that there's still a lot of room for growth, but at the same time, you know, I think we're doing a great job.
Talking with Justin Allgaier as a part of the weekend down here at Kansas Speedway. I was hesitate to ask the question because you don't want to jinx anything, but there's a chance you're going to have a green track to race on.
Yes.
Eventually.
Yes.
It's got to be really tough to sit here on Friday, practice, and then you could have a completely different car to race when you get to race it.
Well, you know, I will say this. You know, obviously NASCAR and the Kansas Speedway, they do their best job, and if we can control Mother Nature, I have a feeling that there's been a lot of racetracks over the years that would have loved to have had that feature. We do have the Air Titans and the jet dryers and all the things that we need. But as you mentioned, you know, the rubber that is down right now there isn't a whole lot of it. Or, you know, we're putting some down as we go. The only thing that will be frustrating is if we lose this rubber from the rain or from the jet dryers or whatever it may be, we lose some width of racing groove. And I think from a racer standpoint, that's the only negative. I don't mind a green racetrack. The tires that we have this weekend will be fine. I don't think there will be any major issues, but the duration of time that it's going to take to get the racetrack back to, you know, as wide as it is now or even wider. You know, last fall, I think we were all the way up to the outside wall, you know, racing up against the outside wall, but it took majority of the race to get it up there. Yeah. And I think for us, you know, the truck race tonight, obviously we need to make sure that they get it as wide as possible, and then, you know, as we keep going over the weekend, just keep working that groove out, and I think it'll make for a great race.
All right, Justin Allgaier, are you a honorary member of the Fraternal Order of Eagles now?
Well, I don't know that I would say honorary member, but but you know, we're actually in the process trying to start a chapter near home. Okay. Obviously, been around the Fraternal Order of Eagles for many years. Actually, I've had lots of events at some of their places, and what a great group of guys. Yeah. Just really awesome to be a part of such a great organization, and look forward to getting that chapter started somewhere around home.
All right. Thanks a lot for your time, Justin.
Thank you.
A lot of interesting things Justin said there as a part of that interview, but I thought he really kind of touched on some great stuff. The one that I didn't really notice when you were sitting there talking was the 500 to 600 days that they've really kind of begun to congeal as a team. And that was kind of interesting to hear that again as we were going back and listening to that interview. Unfortunately, Justin not able to really kind of get the finish that he wanted to at Kansas. Came home in thinking I just had it, and now I lost it. 30th. It started 25th, finished 30th. But like you said, there was a point in the race when he was up there battling pretty good for the top 10s.
Well, he was running second for quite a while, and if he would have caught a caution at that time and had some guys trapped behind him, he'd probably got another 10 or 12 spots on that finish.
That organization taken over for Phoenix Racing is HScott Motorsports purchased the operations from Phoenix Racing and took over the 51 car, and then put Justin in that car. A nice guy, really nice guy, kind of hoping the best for him. He's a talented little driver, and just needing to get a little more technology behind him, and those alliances that they have with the multiple organizations. I honestly think that's a kind of a saving grace in this sport for the next few years.
Well, yeah, for the small teams, right. You know, having all that extra knowledge available is a big plus.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back in turn number 3. We do have Stan Cisar on the phone this time, so we will do a full recap from Eagle Raceway, the racing action that happened on Friday night and Saturday. And on Friday night and Saturday night. This is the Front Stretch.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, located just north of Bass Pro. Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 200 people, bachelor parties, corporate outings, team meetings, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.
We have all been there before. Broken car part in your hand and some snot-nosed punk behind the counter has no idea what he's talking about, but he guarantees that this part will fix your car. You pay an arm and a leg for the replacement, get it home, and sure enough, it doesn't fit your car. Now, learn from your mistake and give an experienced salesperson at Kasiski Auto Parts a call today at 402-731-4592. Kasiski Auto Parts will get you back on the road with your arms and legs still attached.
Feather the brake and get back to the gas. Dan and Dirk are headed into turn 3 on the Front Stretch.
Welcome back to the Front Stretch. We appreciate you sticking around with us on Sunday morning as we recap the racing action throughout the Midwest. Stan Cisar will be joining us in just a few minutes as we get Stan back on the phone. The voice of the Speedway for Eagle Raceway. They had the National Sprint League there on Friday night, and then they had regular Saturday night racing on the next night, Saturday night. So it's an early morning. I don't know what's with me this morning. Normally I'm able to kind of get my brain moving, but it's not working so well for this morning. Let's see. The racing action to come over the next couple of weeks. We talked about it a little bit. Dirk and I will be at Iowa Speedway starting on Saturday. We'll be there Saturday to do some interviews to get you some good audio for the Sunday show. And the NASCAR K&N East and West Pro Series will take the track Saturday night. And then the Xfinity Series takes the track on Sunday afternoon. I believe that's about a 2:30 green flag. So Sprint Cup Series, they're off from the points racing, but obviously the All-Star race is Saturday night, so you can check all that out. I think that's on Fox Sports 1. So that's where you can see all of that. And then again, so no NASCAR Cup Series racing on Sunday, so they'll open up for Iowa Speedway racing on Sunday for the Xfinity Series. And I believe now we've got Stan Cisar on the phone. How you doing this morning, sir?
Good. How you doing?
Good. Are you recovered from your couple of days of hard racing at Eagle Raceway?
Oh yeah, it was a great weekend.
Let's talk about Friday night.
Mother Nature finally decided to treat us right. We got a couple of good nights of racing at Eagle Raceway. Friday night, National Sprint League came to town and brought a great field of drivers down there, 30 cars in the pit area. And Brian Brown kicked things off by fast time in the time trials, heat races, 3 heat races, took the top 5 cars out of each heat race. Brooke Tatnell won heat race number 1. Tim Kading won the second heat race, and Matt Jewell, kind of unheralded Matt Jewell, picked up the win in heat race number 3. A lot of guys, some good cars not making it in out of the heat race. It was a pretty stacked B main event. Dusty Zomer picking up the win in that B main event over Brian Clausen, Davey Heskin, and Josh Schneiderman, the last man in the A feature. What a race! I mean, it was. Brad Loyette started from the pole position, and he had that race pretty well in the hand. With about 3 laps to go, Brian Brown passed him in traffic, and they swapped the lead like 5 times in the last 3 laps. Brownie taking the lead going down the backstretch into turn number 3 on the white flag lap, and Loyette with a great pass coming off the turn, won the drag race to the finish line and won by about a half a car length. And great race and a great way to kick off the NSL season. You know, and it made all the fans in our area. I think the ones that were in attendance. You know, I mean, the buzz was, boy, this is the world of outlaws in the Midwest, and like I said, great field of cars, and a lot of great drivers following that series this year, and what a way to kick things off. And that was night number one of the big Durst $20,000 challenge. You know, Phil Durst and the guys put up the double down bonus. They moved over to the Knoxville Speedway last night and had good racing over there. Unfortunately, although I had to get caught up in a crash with Terry McCarl on lap number one of the feature, and it took the $20,000 bonus out of play. But one of the guys that I had picked to have a realistic shot finished in the third position on Friday night, right behind Brian Brown. That was Danny Lasowski. He picked up the win last night over in Knoxville, and so I mean, it's great things in store for that series. I'm telling you, just a little teaser that we've got in the first three events. Really looking forward to as the season unfolds, and big things coming with that deal. You know,
what were some of the lap times you were seeing at the Eagle Raceway on Friday night with the 410s?
It was a pretty fast track. They were down. Oh, they got within about a half a second of the lap record. You know, pretty quick lap record down there right now, being held by Sammy Swindell, and that lap record was set back in 2009. So you know, it was one of those nights. The conditions were just right. Actually, I think the track was just a little bit too good. A lot of guys had some good lap times going, but the cars seemed to be a little bit tight on exit of 4. You know, and they just couldn't keep the power down all the way to the flag stand on that on the end of the lap. And but there were probably, I would say, without going into stats and looking things up, I would probably say there was 12, maybe 13 cars under the 12-second bracket, and like I say, it was a pretty tightly contested field. Brian Brown picking up the Fast Time Award, but great night of race. All in all, great night of racing. Lynn Jeffrey, the only car, Lynn got up into the deep cushion there in the A feature, and he got it up, bent the wing up, and ironically, his business builds top wings, so he can replace that one. He's the owner of Vortex Wings, and a lot of the front runners on the World of Outlaws and in the NSL use the Vortex wing.
How hard did the track crew have to work to get the track ready to go for Friday night? I know I kept seeing pictures on Facebook of Eagle Raceway, Lincoln was just absolutely flooded, frankly enough. Did the track experience a heavy amount of rain, or did you guys get missed by that storm?
Well, we had Lake Eagle in the infield, if that tells you anything. And you know, even turns 3 and 4, it was a mud bog. Probably the first 100 feet from the center of the corner. If you drew a line straight across from the front stretch to the back stretch, there was probably 100 feet of a pretty good mud bog. And actually, the track crew, they tried to pack in 2 or 3 little lanes so they could run out onto the speedway without having to run through probably 8-10 inch deep mud in case they ever had to get out there in a hurry, you know. But they did a great job. They were still working on the track, I think 10:30 Thursday night, trying to get it into shape, and they had the drainage going. You know, they had some pumps working down there, and you know, just worked tirelessly to get that show in. And we had I would say a decent crowd, but the weather probably did keep a lot of people away because the forecast was 50% chance of rain. But it was a great night for racing. It was cool, but you know, awesome. I mean, it was just awesome. You know, we visited, you know, with Bill Wright before, you know, on the show, and he's the PR director and part-time announcer with the NSL Tour, and you know, he was very impressed with the facility of the track, and can't wait to get back. And we had a great time. I was able to help call the action with Bill, and we're going to do about 6 events, I think, together during 2015, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing that too. Obviously, goes without saying, but you do a fantastic job with the announcing, and I'm always impressed with the amount of knowledge that is stuck up in your brain.
Well, I'll tell you what, and you know, the buzz was how great that feature was, and the internet, you know, was lit up. Facebook and social media, you know, talking about best race they've seen at Eagle for years, and couldn't wait to see the 410s back at Eagle Raceway. And I'll tell you what, the NSL did not disappoint. But even with all that buzz going on about that race, you know, a regular weekly show got in last night, and what a feature we had. In that deal, you know, our car count was down just a little bit. This week we only had 140 some cars, I think, but it was a great feature event, and guy that's been pretty much the talent. You know, we talked about with going to the Race Saver cars, you know, the 3 Race Saver type sprint cars, you know, a lot of guys stay with the 360s. You're seeing more and more guys dip back down into the Race Savers now because they love racing at Eagle and they want to race close to home, and it's a little bit more affordable, and it's making racing a little bit more fun for them. The talent pool that's getting back in that Race Saver class down there. Last night we had 29 cars, and what an A feature we had. Adam Gullion, who had some adversity week number 1, he started from the front row, and it looked like he was going to kind of check out on the field. Well, about halfway through that race, after a couple of restarts, things started tightening up just a little bit, and Gene Acklin had a pretty good start in that race. Also, Trevor Grossenbacher is one of the first 2. He's a former 360 driver. Won the first 2 Race Saver events thus far at Eagle Raceway. He was starting on the outside. Of the 6th row position for being the points leader, you know, and he worked his way up to 3rd, and there was a great race going on. Doug Lovegrove, Mike Boston, Trevor, and Adam Gullion, and those first 4 cars, you know, you could throw a blanket over them. They got to lap traffic. Lovegrove, the only one of the 4 that was running down around the low side of the racetrack. Lap cars that were circling the bottom and kind of took him out of the contention, but it was Adam and Mike and Trevor clear up around the roof up on the top side, and they were running Adam down, and Trevor had just made the pass on Mike Boston, and Mike got into the heavy clumps down there and actually didn't flip the car, but did kind of cartwheel the car through the clumps, and brought out a red flag just as Trevor was sliding Adam for the lead. While on the restart, Adam got a great restart, and Trevor's car stumbled a little bit, and Adam was able to hold on for the win. Trevor come home in the 2nd spot. Doug Lovegrove, Terry Richards, and Jason Danley, another former 360 guy, with a good run. Last week he started up front, and looked like that was going to be his race to win, and ended up 3rd. But he raced from the rear this week and got all the way up into the 5th spot. Jason Martin was running in the top 6, got a flat tire, started at the rear and raced his way all the way back to a 7th place finish. So all in all, great racing. Modified division, Mike Dinsberger over Jordan Grabowski, and those guys had quite a race after a late race restart. Chad Anderson, I think, will be your new points leader out of Omaha. Bob Zobek, Justin Wolf, who came from outside the 7th row, started 14th, made it all the way up to 5th in that one. Young Trent Roth won the Sportmont feature out of Columbus, Nebraska. Benji Legg qualified out of the B main event and raced his way all the way up to a 2nd place finish. He's our defending champion. In the hobby stock division, Adam Armstrong, who's won the first week's event, he was in the 2nd spot, having a good race going on with Chris Klein out of Wilbur, Nebraska, and those 2 made contact. Adam, with a flat tire, had to go to the pit area, but that handed the lead to his dad, Roy Armstrong, our defending champion. He picked up the win in the hobby stock division, and Spencer Paley out of Sterling, Nebraska, picked up the Sport Compact win. All in all, a couple of great nights of racing at Eagle Raceway, and time to kick back on Sunday and relax just a little bit.
Weather threatened, but Mother Nature never held up the racing, huh?
Yeah, you know, we were hoping that we were going to get them in, and like I said, it was overcast on Saturday night, but never did get any rain, and that was swell, you know. And as a matter of fact, you know, the checkered flag had just flown. We did all the post-race interviews and stuff like that, and Roger was already out on the track with the grader and trying to get things cut up, and so they can start making preparation for next week.
Hey, go back to your IMCA Sprint Car A feature win with Adam Gillian. Is that his first 305 win?
No, his first this season, but
okay.
Adam has picked up a couple wins last year, and his first year dropping to the 305s was last year, and I think he picked up maybe 3 wins on the season last year, but he had the number 91 car. He had it working good. And very popular victory. He's got a big group of fans up in the grandstand, and main thing he said in the post race interview was having fun. Same deal. Terry Richards, another fine finish for him. He finished 2nd on week 1, and 5th place finish last night. So he's got 2 podium finishes going on, and like I said, you know, a very, very tough very tough starting field in that race saver class, and I'll say that we've got the benchmark in the race saver division in the United States, racing weekly at Eagle Raceway, and it's been going on for a lot of number of years back in Pennsylvania and down in Texas. They got some pretty strong cars, but I think our competition at Eagle Raceway right now is probably as big as far as car count wise and as tough as anywhere in the country.
Yeah, you guys are kind of leading that banner there when Roger Hayden picked up the Race Saver 305 banner and been doing a good job of leading it. Looks like you guys have mostly Saturday night racing, weekly racing coming up for the next couple of months. No big specials, but great racing action.
One big event, even though it is on a Saturday night, Tony Bruce brings in the Eagle Nationals. That's an ASAS 360 Lucas Oil National Tour event. That's going to be coming up last Saturday night of May, and that's going to be a great race. You'll see all the Nebraska 360 guys, the traveling ASCS national guys, a lot of guys coming up from the ASCS Warrior region down in Kansas and Missouri. So that should be a great night for the 360 cars. The special going on down there that week. But with our weekly show, just about every weekly show is a special.
Absolutely. Stan Cisar, the voice of the Speedway, we do appreciate you joining us this morning. What's on your schedule for the next couple of weeks?
Well, I got to check my day planner again. We do a couple Friday nights. You and me might be working together down at I-80 Speedway, and I'll be at Eagle every Saturday night. I believe next NSL race I think we got might be going on is going to be at Crawford County, or not. Yeah, Crawford County Speedway up in Denison, and there's going to be another race, an NSL race at I-80. We've got the Nebraska Cup on Friday night, September 11th. That'll be at Eagle Raceway, and that's going to be an all-sprint car show. It's going to be the Sprint Series of Nebraska Race Saver 305s, as well as the NSL 410 cars. So that's going to be a great race for all the sprint car guys, and fans. ASCS National Tour comes back to I-80 for the Fall Brawl, and then the final race on the National Sprint League Tour will also be at I-80. That'll be the Fearless 410 finale going on out there. Also on the card, the $50 Nationals, and that'll be the dwarf car event. And if you've never seen the dwarf cars, the little miniature modified type cars with the 1200cc motorcycle engines, they hustle around that place pretty good. Last time they were there for a big event, they had close to 50 of them from about an 8 or 9 state area, and a couple $1,000 going to the winner of that, and that ought to be a great support class for the NSL for that final race of the season.
One last question for you before we let you go and get your Mother's Day rolling for the weekend. How's everything going on down at Action Science?
Oh, Action Science been as busy as always, put in some long days and long hours. I felt a little bad last week, Blaine Peterson moved up into the sprint car division, and he's been kind of on a learning curve. He's had a little bad luck, tore up a couple cars. He got a new Eagle chassis, or not a brand new Eagle, but actually a year-old car that somebody had traded in down at Eagle, and he picked that thing up. So he says, well, we're finally going to leather this thing up. We wrapped the wing, and unfortunately, this is something I didn't tell you about. Last night in the B main event, how tough the competition was. Shaylee Bay did not qualify out of her heat race. She was in the B main event. She got tangled up on lap number 1. And that car endowed going into, she kind of cartwheeled and end over end, flipped that car going down into turn 1, and unfortunately Blaine got caught up in it. Looked like he was going to skirt by on the outside, but he got clipped and got into the wall and bent the side panels on that brand new wing. So I felt a little bad for him, and he was asking about a warranty after the races were over.
You didn't give him one, did you?
Yeah, I'm going to try to help him out a little bit. But the good news is Shaylee was pretty wild ride, but Shaylee climbed out shaking, but under her own power, and she's all right. Those guys will get the backup car out, and I'm sure she'll be back in action next Saturday night.
Stan Cisar, the voice of the Speedway. You can catch him Saturday nights at Eagle Raceway. You can catch him a couple of shows at I-80 Speedway, and then locally with the National Sprint League, and quite frankly, a couple more. Stan, we always do appreciate you keeping us up to date on everything that's going on.
Thanks a lot, Dan. Have a good one.
Have a good one. See you, bud.
You too. Bye.
Boy, it's always I I think I say about every time, I love having Stan on the show because you ask him a question and he just goes with it. You don't have to dive into questions, elaborate. He's got all the information for you, so it makes it an easy interview. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap the show up. We'll talk about a little NASCAR news and notes. We'll talk, what else do we have lined up in turn number 4? Pick'em's recap. The Iowa Speedway contest ended last night. Very close contest. And we'll kind of pick up a couple of lug nuts that we may have dropped on our pit stops. We'll be back. This is Dirk Houston and Dan Taylor down in Kansas, recapping all the action from the Kansas Speedway night race, the SpongeBob SquarePants 400. This is the front stretch.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low-emission engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shaylee Bate, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Dan and Dirk are live for one last corner. Give them a call now at 402-573-0590.
And we're about ready to wrap this baby up. We always do appreciate you joining us here on the Front Stretch. Feel free to go over to the Front Stretch Facebook page. You give us a like. We'll try to keep you up to date with the NASCAR action, the local dirt racing action, and get you some good audio for different interviews we do. We have a lot of great drivers that join us. Rico Abreu is one of them that'll be on the show next weekend for the Iowa Speedway preview show. And so make sure you like our Facebook page, and then you can get a hold of Dirk and I that way and ask any questions. I tell you what, I have tapped your knowledge resource quite a bit this weekend, Dirk, with your past with the being the Camper World Truck Series tech official. So I appreciate you helping me out with all that stuff.
Well, you got to see a lot of stuff that you've probably seen before, because every once in a while you'll see it on a news piece or something, but you have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because they really don't explain it. But watching them hang the templates and doing that kind of stuff is an interesting thing once you figure out exactly what they're doing.
Boy, oh boy, did that Iowa Speedway contest stay hot and heavy the entire 5 weeks. If you don't know what we're talking about, every 5 weeks we run these little contests where we give away tickets to various events. And Iowa Speedway was the latest one we just did. It ended with the picks last night at Kansas Speedway. It was for a 4-pack of tickets to the August 1st Xfinity race at Iowa Speedway. And then the next one coming up is going to be a Silver Dollar Nationals ticket package. We'll get you more information on that. But if you want to be a part of it, it's absolutely free to join. Just send me an email, frontstretch590@gmail.com. Frontstretch590@gmail.com. We'll get you entered into the contest. It's absolutely free. And now, because of Vern Carriger being a part of the contest, he's now got a 4-pack of tickets to Iowa Speedway. He edged out your brother Hugh by just 1 point. And he also edged out Brock Ackerman by just 1 point. So it was a very, very close race to the Iowa Speedway contest. So Vern Carriger, I should say, pending any penalties or anything that happens to pop up on NASCAR Penalty Day on Tuesday, everyone should be fine in Copacetic. And well, I guess that's also providing that the guy who runs the contest put in the points correctly.
Well, I think they're going to penalize Jimmy Johnson like 47 points.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah, being too fast.
Yep.
Yeah, or being too lucky. Maybe that I think that horseshoe may have come back last night. But so Vern Carriger wins that. Hugh Houston came in just 1 point behind him, and then Brock Ackerman in third, Jesse Totten in fourth, and Dale Smith in fifth. But very close contest throughout it all. There was 21 people that competed in that contest, so you've got a pretty good chance of winning these prize packs from us. All you got to do is send us an email, frontstretch590@gmail.com. We'll do a quick recap of the Pick'ems contest, the overall season-long contest, which you started started at Daytona, and then we've added a couple of new rules from last year's contest. Vern leading in that contest too. He has 2 wins on the season. He doesn't have the most points, but because he's got the most wins along with the most points of anybody who has 2 wins, he's at the top of the charts. And I'm excited to see, I've been kind of stressing a little bit with my rules package that the way it ruled out, I thought there was only going to be about 10 to 12 people who picked wins this year. There's 23 thanks to Harvick winning at Phoenix earlier in the season. Everybody took Harvick that week and got a win. But Brock Ackerman, who is absolutely tearing up the picks this year so far, has 423 points, but until last night he didn't have a win, so he was out of the chase contest. Well, he got himself a win last night, so he is up into the chase contest. So good for Brock for picking up that win. But I'll tell you what, Brock, you got your 1 win. You've been saying it all along. You're going to need 3 or 4 wins to be locked into the chase by the end of the season. We're only 11 races in, and there are 10 people with 2 wins and 12 people with 1 win. So there's a lot of shaking still to go as this contest rolls on. You can always join our conversations on the Facebook page. You can like us there, and we'll get you information about the Pick'ems contest and upcoming shows. We'll get rested and relaxed and ready to go for Iowa Speedway. Do it all again next weekend.
Yeah, Iowa Speedway is going to be fun. I've never been to a K&N race, so that'll be kind of different. It'll be fun to talk to Rico, and I know we're going to sit down and talk with David Starr from the Xfinity Series. He'll give us some good insight on what's going on over there. He's been around a while. So it'll be a good weekend.
Should be a lot of fun. We hope you join us next Sunday. We'll be live. If you're going to be at the track, shoot us an email, fredstretch590@gmail.com. Maybe we can hook up with you and just kind of chit-chat with the fans a little bit. We always love to meet them. All right, we'll be back next weekend to do it all again. Oh, I almost forgot. It's Mother's Day today. That little note tends to slip my mind, so happy Mother's Day to my mother.
Happy Mother's Day, Mom, and all the other mothers that I know.
Absolutely. You put up with a lot, and we always do appreciate it. And trust me, I know me, and my mother has put up with a lot.
Yeah, I got 20 years on you. How much more do you think mine put up with?
That's true. All right, happy Mother's Day to everybody out there. Happy race day to all of you. And thank you for joining us on the Front Stretch. We'll be back next weekend live from Iowa Speedway to do it all again. This is the Front Stretch on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 200 people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team meetings, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.
This is Andrew from Kaziski Auto Parts. Kaziski Auto Parts is an insurance-quality used parts supplier that can match your foreign or domestic car or truck needs. If you have a damaged or broke-down car or truck, we guarantee a clean and quality part in next-day fashion. Kaziski Auto Parts, your neighborhood premium recycled parts supplier. Call any Kaziski Auto Parts salesman today by dialing 402-731-4592 or visit us at 5040 I Street in Omaha. Kaziski Auto Parts, our quality used parts will match your car or truck's needs.
Recently on The Drive with Joe Quinn and Nick Handley.
If you were trapped in one hallway with this mountain cat,
oh my God,
what is your defense against the mountain lion?
I don't move. It's very Bear Grylls of you, Nick.
Can I fix the question? You
Please.
are covered in red meat.
If you just happen to be wearing a meat suit on the day that a mountain lion breaks into our building,
then I try to pet it, but I don't approach it.
The Drive with Joe Quinn and Nick Handley. Weekdays from 2 to 6 on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
This has been the Front Stretch Radio Show, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. To contact Dan or Dirk, find them on Facebook at The Front Stretch or email them at frontstretch590@gmail.com. If you missed any part of today's show or want to hear a previous show, subscribe to the Joe's Karting YouTube page, where you can find almost every Front Stretch show.